Good evening, class. My name is TT, and today I'll be talking to you about my AI reflection. My model choice today is going to be the principal component of analysis, right? Could be called PCA for short and abbreviations. And my Earth system scenario is climate patterns. My model basically summarizes that it will enable me to quickly see the main pattern. The second scenario, PCA can be used to reduce the amount of information in the climate data, including the temperature, rainfall, wind, and air pressure, right, to aid scientists and identify key threads in the element. So let's start with the description of PCA. What does it tell us, right? So one thing that the PCA tells us that it is the largest trend in information. PCA, rather than considering dozens of individual climate variables, it summarizes them into smaller number of patterns that account for most of the variations. For instance, it could indicate a change in relationship between temperature and rainfall over an area. And then moving on now to the second thing that PCA uncovers is the likeliness of various locations and areas. Several regions may exhibit climate response, and with PCA, it reveals the relationships between. This basically includes that this facilitates the ease of comparison of areas in the greater detection, right? And the large basically including the whole large scale of the climate trend. These observations help the scientists target areas where there are changes in investigation. But there's also drawbacks when it comes to PCA, right? With PCA, there comes a danger. The tendency of PCA is for obscuring and significant local information, right? It captures trends but may not capture small events like local droughts, heats, or floods. Events that don't have significant influence on the overall pattern can be very significant for the community, right? All those things does matter when it comes to data collection, right? Every single thing has to be collected to get a better idea of what's happening. And then one practical implication of the misinterpretation of PCA results is the possible neglection of regions and local environmental issues, like while decision makers are only considering the large regional trends. The authors describe in chapter 3 that under the heading summarization of dimensionality reduction, techniques such as PCA can be used to simplify the problem by making a large data set more manageable by summarizing into few manageable patterns. The reflection on ideas connects to the PCA as the advantage of PCA. It allows the climate data to be accessible, right, easier to understand. It does more condensing. The information is also more omitting in some more details in there as well. This result is the compromise of usefulness and interpretability. Moving on now, these models may be very helpful even when we are not readily explainable. The PCA technique is fast, means to detect large scales of climate patterns quickly that would not easily be obviously observed otherwise. The components of generated PCA, however, are not always easy to interpret. Sometimes it's hard to pinpoint what each component is. For my climate scenario, I went with it emphasizes the usefulness as often as the climate data sets are very large and complex. But I also want you to note that I wouldn't want to interpret these results carefully and provide more analysis. A reality check step I would take to compare the PCA results with an actual observation. If PCA found a large-scale climate pattern, I would probably try to correlate this pattern with the actual temperature and precipitation data to determine it. To determine whether the pattern was related in changes of the environment. And then finally, is PCA a valuable tool? Is the main question I want to ask now. Can it be used to recognize important climate trends and to take more complex data within it? Can it manage that data within itself? Therefore, PCA should be regarded as an initial understanding of the data from Earth system, not the final, and not as a universal solution to all the types of data. Thank you so much for listening to my presentation, and I hope you have a good night.